Welcome to the Yellow Spider Media Business Spotlight podcast, a chance for business owners to discuss what they do and what makes them special. Today's guest is Ben Whitehouse, Financial Advisor for Oakway Wealth Management. Hi Ben, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing this week? You okay?
Hi John, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Very good. Good to have you on.
Good to be on. Thanks for inviting me.
So today we're going to be talking about financial education and how that's linked to financial well-being. Let's start with the financial well-being. Can you explain exactly what it is and why it's important?
I think we all put a lot of effort into our well-being as a whole, and for most people that is, thinking about, are they eating right? Are they exercising enough? Looking after our mental health. Do we take time to deal with stress and issues in our life? And I think quite often financial plans and financial planning can be left to the side, but it really has quite a strong bearing on our feelings and our thoughts for the future, and it can have quite an impact on just that peace of mind that you have about what's going to happen tomorrow. And money kind of underwrites a lot of our life and our choices and our plans, and understanding your situation is one way, I think, of helping to relieve the burden of those sort of questions, if you like, that sometimes we have in the back of our mind.
Yep, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of sleepless nights caused by money troubles or finances, and will they have enough in the future, and so on.
And they're pressures, and I think we're very aware of that. So financial well-being is I think a really important thing for people to take stock of in their lives, and really focus on how that perhaps can improve their overall well-being.
So how often does this come up in meetings? I'm sure the focus is more on amounts of money, how much is going to be in the pot at the end of it, rather than how good am I going to feel along the way.
It's a really good point. And I think financial well-being isn't necessarily, the objective that somebody comes to talk to us about, but it is something, it's a byproduct of what we do if we do it right. And with all of our clients, we take the same approach, which is a goal-based financial planning approach. So this is moving away from transactions and transactional advice where, you have a pot of money, let me tell you what best to do with it today. And starting at the other end, which is to spend a lot of time talking about what's important to you. What do you want from the future? Can we connect your capital to those objectives and those plans? Can we set goals for us to hit? And that's something we need to do together. And it's really the focus of our initial conversations with our clients, and certainly through our regular reviews, making sure we're still on track, making sure we still have the right objective in mind is the way to ensure that financial well-being is a byproduct of completing that process successfully. And so that is very much at the core of everything that we do.
So is there a correlation between lack of financial well-being and starting late with financial planning per se?
Yeah, they can be. I think, putting things off, it's a natural tendency at times, things we, for whatever reason, we don't want to do, because we find them boring, because we don't have enough time, because we don't understand them. And, a lot of people say life starts to speed up, and before you know it, you're at a point when you consider yourself behind the curve in what you perhaps could have done towards retirement, for example. Does that mean you're 40 years old and you've done nothing? Does that mean you're 50 years old and done nothing? It varies, but it's a sense of your own feeling towards it, and we see that regularly. It's one of the things that often is the prompt for somebody to start a relationship with. It's that feeling they've not done enough, and again, I take it back to the goal-based planning. I mean, we tend to compare ourselves to the people around us, and the impression that people often give us is that they've got more money than they do, and they enjoy a better lifestyle than they do, and that all projected through social media. And people tend to tell you the positive stuff and the good things they're doing and the holidays they're going, and you see the nice car in the drive, but you don't know what's behind it. You just make assumptions, and so that feeling, I'm behind the curve. And it's not a case of comparing you to anybody else. It's a case of sitting down and clearly mapping out, well, what is it that's important to you? What have you got today? And that's our starting point. Where are we heading to? At what point would you like to stop work if possible? And rather than retirement, we sort of try to work towards what we call financial independence. And I think retirement is becoming more of an old-fashioned term, stop work, take your state pension.
Put your slippers on, put your feet up in front of the fire.
Exactly. And I think that's a sort of a historic way of looking at it. And these days, retirement is perhaps a more fluid thing. And, it may take a different form. We don't have jobs for life like we used to. We move around, our careers change. We work for several people. We might work for ourselves. We pick up a great range of skills and experiences throughout our life, and we can put those together and perhaps help other firms, whether it be through consulting or non-exec directing or teaching or something. There might be something that you want to do at the end of your career. Sometimes it sort of feels like you're giving back. Sometimes it's just something as you wind down to retirement. But ultimately, we like to use financial independence because it's, in its simplest form, it's a point in time where you've amassed enough assets, enough wealth in various forms to pay for the things that you want out of the rest of your life. So your decision to go out and work beyond that for any means is completely down to you and your desire to do so. You're no longer under that pressure.
So it sounds like all these financial plans are flexible, but I suppose they've got to be, and they've got to be very personalised as well, because there's so many variables along the way. We don't know how long we're going to live for a start. We don't know how many kids we're going to have, if those kids are going to go to university, things that we're not expecting and not perhaps planning for, like getting ill. All these things mean that the plans have to be bespoke, don't they?
Completely. And I think that's something that we certainly recognise. Life is not a straight line, and there are many curveballs that will be thrown at us, bumps in the road. Sometimes it's our own decision. Things that used to be important to us, we no longer attach the same value to. And I think building in that flexibility and agility to your financial plan is vital.
So let's move on to financial education then. Why is that important?
I think financial education has a huge part to play in this, and that's not just for children, but all throughout our lives.
Well, it's not on the national curriculum for a start, is it?
We learn all about Pythagoras' theorem, but we don't learn about a mortgage and a credit card. We don't learn about a pension. Nobody teaches you that. And it's why we've got involved with financial education programs where we provide extra curricular support to schools, using teachers, qualified teachers, to deliver programs that help to educate children on the basics of finances, on how to budget, on how to save, on what types of debt there are and how to manage and control them and what to look out for, so that you don't enter the world aged 18, walk into your bank, take out a credit card, take out a loan and blow the money and regret it, which is something that people do because they don't have a true understanding of the cost of debt. We definitely live in a society now where everything is available instantly. You can pay for it later. And you go back a few generations, it was the other way around. You saved for what you wanted, and when you had that, you bought it. And I think, therefore, it's really important for children to understand how to budget, how to save, and to understand their way around the myriads of credit options that are available.
I'm quite sure there's plenty of adults that need that as well.
It's the sort of conversation people might have, down the pub with a mate who said, "Oh, I know this and I've heard this," and often that can be the source of a lot of misinformation. "Oh, my friend told me pensions are bad, so I didn't take one out." Well, if people are properly educated on what these things are and how they help, that will only improve their overall financial health, financial well-being.
So you also do financial well-being training sessions for that exact reason, don't you? You go into businesses and explain these things that can be misunderstood.
So it's just explaining to people what these things are and why they're important.
And do you tailor them to different circumstances? For example, at the moment, the budget and the end of the tax year has been talked about quite a lot, hasn't it? So does it depend on the time of year and what's happening around us?
Yeah, we do. There's a big focus on obviously the end of the tax year because of various allowances and things that we have to use or utilize, or we might lose them. And again, there's been an awful lot of changes to pension rules, whether it be auto enrollment or tapered annual allowance or lifetime allowance, and where we've seen a disconnect, particularly for employers and HR departments, is there's only a limit to the advice or the information they can provide to their employees, and their employees probably have questions. How much can I put in? Am I breaking the rules? Do I get tax relief? Am I going to get a penalty? All of these things, and there's really is a finite amount of information that they're allowed to provide. This is something perhaps where we've looked to fill that gap with our financial wellbeing programs, where we can go in and talk to these staff as advisors and give them an overview of what's really important.
And if there was a specific group like self-employed, for example, you can build that in as well.
We look to tailor the program to best fit the situation. Most recently, we've run a very successful one for a large law firm who had made each year make people up to what's called partner in the law firm. Therefore, they become self-employed. So they're moving from an employed role to a self-employed role under the banner of that law firm. And with that change, as you can imagine, from being employed to self-employed, comes a lot of things for them to think about when it comes to pensions and insurances and things like that, and also the structure of their earnings going forward. And interestingly for them, it comes at a time when this is something that they've been aiming at for a while as individuals, to be made up to partner, and their real focus is on their clients and on their work. It's not a point in time when they're sitting there twiddling their thumbs thinking, I'll just give some real consideration into what it now means to be self-employed. So this was something that we'd highlighted, and we ran a few sessions with HR to talk this through, and we designed and implemented a program which was really focused around those areas. What was the most important thing? These are very busy people with lots of pressures, so it was important that it wasn't a 3-hour session of just talking at them, that it was run at a convenient time in a convenient location and really hit the points that it needed to hit.
Great. So if any schools or businesses wanted to get in touch about the training sessions, or if an individual wanted to get in touch about their own financial plans, where can they do so?
Well, they can a number of ways, but I guess first and foremost is through the website is probably the best way. But the thing that's important here is we don't sort of have necessarily a one-size-fits-all approach. So I think the best way would be to contact us for an initial chat, initial conversation about how it is we might be able to help. And that's a really important starting point. So they should perhaps do that through the website, or contact me directly. My details are on there.
And the website is
www.oakwaywm.co.uk. I'll be very happy to have a chat with anyone, whether they're an employee wanting a bit more clarity, or an employer looking, or a school that are looking to introduce this type of sessions for their staff. That'd be great, and we could talk through what their requirements would be, and perhaps come up with something that would be the best fit for them.
Ben, thanks very much for coming on and being a guest. It's been great to speak to you.
My pleasure, John. Thanks for that. I enjoyed that.
Thanks for listening to the Yellow Spider Media Business Spotlight podcast. If you'd like to be a guest on the show, please get in touch at www.yellowspidermedia.com.